So those of you who know me, you know I like quotes, so I'm going to start with one. That you are here, that life exists and identity, that the powerful play goes on, and you may contribute a verse. What will your verse be? Does anyone know the source? Anyone know the source? Speak up. I can't see. The lights are incredibly bright. It's not Shakespeare. Good call, though. Good try. That's actually from Walt Whitman, and it's from Dead Poet Society. And the last line, what will your verse be, was Robin Williams. And that's really what I want to talk about. What will your verse be? I know we talk about Spartan legacy all the time, which is awesome. I know Ms. Weldon's here, and she's really been talking about that for years. What will your legacy be? So what will your verse be? So then when they asked me to do this, and Mr. Plano gave me like a couple days notice to talk about this, I think he had a first choice, and the first choice backed out. So I've been used to that, though, in my life, being like second, third, fourth choice. It's all good. So I said, yeah, I'm going to talk about passion. Not that kind of passion, but passion for living. So the other quote, nothing great was ever accomplished without enthusiasm. Does anybody know that source? He probably stole it from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Lombardi stole a lot of quotes, but that's Ralph Waldo Emerson. Nothing great was ever accomplished without enthusiasm. So I think that's the key to life. So first, my childhood. We won't go deep, but just a little quick. Some of you know I'm one of 8 children. I'm number 6, and that might seem like, wait, why do you call himself number 6? And I consider myself rather well adjusted, and so does my psychiatrist, so it's all good. But growing up in a big family, people are like, oh my God, that must have been amazing. And I said, at times, yes. At times it was amazing. At times it was awful. And often it was everything in between. And I think that's kind of like life. A lot of times it's awesome. Sometimes it's not so great. And a lot of times it's in between. And I think that's true. But growing up as one of 8 was definitely challenging at times. High school. I went to St. Rose High School and started off great, loved it, and there hit some stumbling blocks. One thing I wanted to be in high school was a high school basketball star. That never really happened. So that was kind of frustrating on levels. I did track, and I was moderately successful in track. And so that was, high school was okay. And then I hit a real challenge my senior year. My senior year, my mother taught at my high school, and the course that she taught, now imagine this, and I know we have a lot of seniors in here. By the way, love this senior class. But being a senior in high school, imagine having your mother teach this course, love, sex, and marriage. And it was a required course, and I couldn't get out of it. So there's nothing better than being a senior boy and having your mother teach a course, love, sex, and marriage. So if you think that you have tough things in senior year, imagine that. So high school, like I said, it wasn't perfect. And people always talk about, oh, you must have had the best high school and must have been amazing. And no, some of it was great, some of it was awful, and there was a lot of in between. And it's kind of how you deal with that and go forward. So between high school and college was kind of a big summer. I lifeguarded on the beach for the first time. And lifeguarding on the beach, that's my favorite place to be. And the great thing about that was there were a lot of things that happened in that summer. I met some of the best friends I've ever had and still have them. It was just a great environment. I also had athletic success that I never really achieved in high school in a lot of ways from the beach, in lifeguard tournaments, and had some really inspirational people. It was when I really discovered my love for distance running. Even though I did track in high school, I kind of dabbled. I did high jump and shot put because we didn't have a football or a wrestling team at St. Rose. I know that's kind of weird. At this school, we have so many great football players and wrestlers, but at St. Rose, we didn't have either, so I somehow ended up doing shot put. But so the success on the beach was really exciting, and I also discovered a joy of running. So my friends were like, where do you run to? I said, to McDonald's and back. Now, the McDonald's isn't there anymore. That's how old I am. There used to be a McDonald's in the middle of the boardwalk in Belmar. So he goes, that's not far. I go, that's like 3 miles. And he goes, well, that's not far enough. I go, well, how far do you run? He says, to Seagard and back. I said, how far is that? And he said, it's 10 miles. I said, okay. So I ran with him that day. And when we finished, he said, you should run every day. And then I got other encouragement from people on the beach. It was also on the beach that I met the legend, George Conti. Now, some of you might know Mr. Conti. He was the football coach here. He also ran Avalon Beach for 11 years, and he had a huge influence on me because he was very demanding and very tough, but very inspirational. And you talk about having a passion for living. That guy was bigger than life. And I remember I went to do the Ocean Grove Biathlon one year, and I came back, and I was really excited because I got third. And I came back, and I said, he said, how do you do? And I said, I was third. He goes, ah. And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you were the second loser. And I was like, and he's like, and he was kind of serious. But I realized the football mentality was, if you don't win, you're a loser. And on one hand, that was kind of upsetting, but on the other hand, it definitely inspired me. And I think my biggest victory came as a result of that, because I was running with another guy in a pretty big race, and we were duking it out. And it was part of me that was like, oh, second would be great. And then his voice in my head said, no, you got to push yourself. So his passion for that was just amazing. So the idea of lifeguarding, a lot of people think lifeguarding is great, just sit and hang out and stare at girls all day. It's only part of it. You actually do save lives. And in 40 years on the beach, I've probably saved an average of 10 people a year. Some of those saves are really easy. Some of those saves were more difficult. But that we just had our lifeguard meeting the other night. And that's why you're there. You're there to save lives. And we've been told that from over and over. You're there to save lives. You're not there to like veg out. You're not there to look at your cell phone. When we have people coming into the beach who have never been on the beach, that's a pet peeve of mine. People who are staring at their phone, you can't do that. Literally cannot do that. They filmed an Asbury lifeguard who was staring at his phone, and not a good thing. So that's why you're there. And I remember when I was in college, one of my friends said, you guys don't do anything. So we went down a day after a hurricane to Myrtle Beach, and we were body surfing. And all of a sudden, I see a woman on the beach screaming, and I look out, and her 2 kids are being swept out to sea. And I went and got them, got them in close, and then handed one of them to my friend, and we got to the beach, and the mother was crying, and she realized she had almost lost her 2 kids. And another time that it really brought it home to me about what you do on the beach is I was running on the boardwalk, and a guy said, hey, someone just went down. And I ran down to the water, and I stove in, and there was a surfer at the end of the jetty, and he said he went down right around here. And next thing I know, this was before the beach had opened, there were about 30 Belmar lifeguards in the water, and there was a jet ski, and there was a Coast Guard boat, and we're diving and diving, diving. All of a sudden, a 17-year-old kid says to me, I think I found him. And he dives down, and he comes up, and I'll never forget, he brought the body up, and the guy's face was wide open like this. But he was already gone, and I remember it just moved me. And I thought, if I had been there 2 minutes earlier, that guy would have been saved. And every rescue I've ever made, the difference between a rescue and a recovery is probably a minute. So I've never, lost sight of that's why you're actually there when you're lifeguarding. So when I was at South Carolina, I was a broadcast journalism major, so that's kind of cool doing this right now. And I then went to when I was in South Carolina, I did 2 really good internships. One with the Columbia Mets, which was really interesting. Although the Mets are 20 and 22 right now, it's not so fun being a fan. But because I was a Mets fan and am a Mets fan, working for the Columbia Mets was a really good experience. And then I also worked for WLTX, which was the CBS television affiliate. And I remember probably the most exciting thing I did was one day they said, do you want to go to the Masters? And I was like, that's the golf tournament, right? And the guy looked at me like I was stupid because I'm not a big golfer. And he goes, you don't know what I go, no, right. And he goes, well, we're going to cover that tomorrow. I said, okay. So I went and covered the Masters. And I got to interview Bernhard Langer on the Friday before he won. And that was really cool. So I had some really good experiences in broadcasting. And then after, I had to decide what am I going to do next. So my next move was I went to graduate school. And in graduate school, I did a sports informationship in graduate assistantship, which paid for school, and I got more experience doing that. Sports information, you cover the sports teams, you travel with them, you do the press releases, the media guys, everything like that. And that was great. And I thought, okay, this is probably what I'm going to end up doing. While I was there, I was getting my master's in education. And I was traveling with the girls' basketball team. And one day, the coach, we were playing Vanderbilt the next night, and Vanderbilt had a 6'5" girl. And the tallest girl on our team was about my height, and then we had like 6 foot, 6'2". So he said, you played basketball, right? And I said, yes. And he goes, will you play against the girls today? I go, sure. So I started playing against girls, and he said, before I went out there, he said, please block them as much as you can. I go, no problem. So I started playing, and I start swatting the shots and kind of enjoying it. And one girl, Mary, who was Miss Kentucky basketball, was very annoyed at the way I was blocking her, and she kept like getting angrier, and then she screamed at me, and then she threw the ball at me. And we were actually friends, so I thought that was funny. And so she's looking at me, and I said, make a better move. And she goes, what? I go, make a better move. And she goes, what do you mean? So I have a 6'5" brother, so I showed her how you score against a taller person. And I started teaching her how to move. And she, next night, they play Vanderbilt. She scores 20 points, player of the game. And she's, in the interview room, she said, oh, we had a secret weapon at practice. And I used to always think that I just wanted to, like, talk about sports and write about sports, but that was kind of an epiphany where maybe I would rather coach. And rather than wait till the end of a journalism career and then go into teaching and coaching, I said maybe it'd be better to do it while I was young. So that was one of those kind of moments in life where you find your passion and you figure out what you want to do. And that was really cool. And I've been coaching here for a long time, and it's been an amazing experience coaching in Ocean Township. I've learned from some incredible people. I've learned so much from my athletes. Some people say, how can you still be enthusiastic about doing that when you've done it for 30 years? And I ask them, how could I not be enthusiastic? You got to see the kids I get to work with every day and the amazing athletes. We have some amazing athletes in the school right now. Trevor Pena, who's being recruited by everybody for football, he just won the shore conference long jump the other night. He's threatening a 30-year-old school record. But, that's just one example. We have so many amazing athletes in this school. And one of my favorites, senior Emily Duroni, she's going off to college at Charleston around. The other day, I was at a track meet hanging out with Brenna Clark, who will probably be in our Hall of Fame eventually. And she's coaching Manalapan track, and she's teaching English at Manalapan. So you just have these incredible experiences. And I learned as much from my students and my athletes as I've ever learned from anyone else. So it's been a great experience. Another one that I want to mention, another kid who I probably saw a little bit of myself in, Nick Moyle. He was a kind of frustrated basketball player like I was, and he came out for track, and he immediately became very good. And he was a champion in the triple jump, and right now he's working in journalism, doing really well, and he covers the University of Texas and the San Antonio Spurs. And that was a kid that I definitely could relate to and saw a lot of myself, that he found a passion after something didn't work out. So then fast forward to having my own kids and figuring out what they want to do in life. And that's when I was coaching swimming, Dylan was about to be born. My son Dylan's 13, my daughter Shannon is 11. So people always said, what do you want them to do? What do you want them to be? I said, whatever they want to be. They have to find their passion. And so the swimmer said, well, don't you want Dylan to be a runner? Because I knew what his name was going to be. This is before he was born. I go, no, he can choose whatever he wants. They go, well, what if he wants to do music? I said, I'm okay with that. I play piano. That's great. And they go, what if he wants to play tuba? I said, no, he's not playing tuba. I said, I draw the line at tuba. But really, it was about letting them choose what they want to do. And I think that's key. My wife and I have always said that. And, going back to the beach, that's where I met my wife. And I'm coming up on my 20-year anniversary, and I'm really excited about that too. And we always talk about our kids and what we want them to be. And the most important thing we want them to be is to be happy and to be passionate about whatever they want to do in life. So here's the thing. You don't have to have all the answers now, and most people don't, and that's okay. But you should always be looking for and trying to find out what you're passionate about and following what you're passionate about, and do that every day. And I think I've been really lucky to do that in my life with my career and with my family. And that's kind of the message. Find your passion and live your dreams. So thanks to your great audience, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this.